Time for a little show and tell. I have been working with AI tools pretty closely and studying and researching AI technology for past 2 or 3 years. Started paying attention to it during the lockdowns during the pandemic, and I've been in technology for all of my career. I had an interest in art and in computers uh, through high school and going into the mid 90s when I got the opportunity to go to the Art Institute of Dallas and study computer animation. I knew nothing about animation and it showed in my demo reel. But it gave me a chance to learn about technology and to get a job in the industry, which is, that's why we study, right? Is to pursue our interest and to find employment, enjoy using our knowledge base. And I've been lucky enough to have a very good career for close to 30 years in this industry. And I've seen a lot of change since the mid 90s up to this point. Acceleration of technology is a good way to think about it. So, with all of this technology that I've been exposed to, and I've been a mentor, and I've been a supervisor, and I've been in senior positions, and I've trained students as a mentor, and I've also remotely supervised small teams. So I understand how to direct traffic is a good way to put it, and how to to generalize my knowledge base, which is a direct application to what I'm able to do with AI technology now. And that I think that's a good way to frame it, is to think of it as what can I use technology as an enabling experience. Uh, there's a lot of positive aspects to uh, AI technology. There's negative aspects, but that you can say that really about any technology. Is what I like to focus on is what I can do with it and how I can use the skill sets and the domain knowledge that I've built up over the years, the experience, to apply it to that type of knowledge work. And that's an important thing to think about, is that the way tools are evolving is that there are a lot of ways you can leverage your current abilities. And that's what I'm going to show y'all a little bit today. So let's jump in and talk about these two projects, and they're related in some ways, and I'll talk about them. This first project is, I have a reference guide up here. I call it Alice AI. The genesis of this idea was a few months ago. I was sitting downstairs and I was talking on my cell phone to I believe it was GPT, and I was using its natural language voice mode just to talk back and forth. And then I've been doing experimentation with open models, open large language models at home. And the thought occurred to me is like, I bet I could get voice enabled to uh, use natural language back and forth with my open models locally. And I was like, okay, cool. I have an application. I'd been doing some, I don't have a background in Python coding or in coding in general, but over my career, I've worked in small collaborative teams with engineers and designers. So I understand the workflow, and I understand the methodology of understanding what they are doing with their parts of the of a pipeline, and what then understanding what my role is as an animator to apply a lot of the ideas. Being in animation, as part as if you think of it as part of a production pipeline for uh, film, TV, video games, we touch a lot of aspects of the different departments. So that gives me a pretty broad base uh, of of language that I understand as far as like communicating and working with different groups that are in different domain specialties than what I have. So I have a sampling of a lot of things, specializing in animation, but I also have a background with teaching students animation and supervision as well. So it all adds up over time. So that's I follow my interest, and I was able to start using the open models at home to start piecing together Python scripts and things for to use in Autodesk Maya as part of workflow, optimizing workflow, using the technology in a positive way to expand my capabilities beyond what I naturally have. And it's worked out really well. Um, and it's exciting for me because I wasn't really, I understood the direction that AI technology was going and is going, but I wasn't expecting such an immediate usability effect for me. And that was the cool part of it. So let me show you these two projects. The Alice AI project is an AI orchestration platform that coordinates multiple AI models in LM Studio, and I'll bring that over. This is a fantastic uh, application to let you load and use and access open models without API costs, without usage limits, and it's all completely private. It's all local. So once they're pulled down, I'm working locally, and that's pretty nice. And until I started doing these projects, I was the to continue with the story about how I started doing this project is I was doing all these small scripts, and then I was wondering what can I do more? And then when I had the thought to try to enable voice chat with my local open models, that's when because I was using free minutes on both Anthropic's Claude and on OpenAI's ChatGPT. You use the freemium plan where you use a certain amount, then it times out for a little bit, come back later. Uh, and I got to a point to where that wasn't really doing it for me anymore. So first one's free, that type of idea. So I got enough traction doing that type of method of work, and I decided to, okay, I'll pay for a month of Anthropic's Claude to access the just the lowest tier of their platform, and it was the best 20 bucks I've ever spent. It was such a great $20 spend that after I stood up this Alice AI project, uh, I stood up a very basic version of it, a terminal only version of it in a weekend, and it was it was very eye-opening, and it gave me traction to continue to develop um, uh, human AI collaborative workflows. And to me, that's these projects I'm going to show you have value in their own right. But the real value for me is figuring out how to use the technology to expand on my domain knowledge and my experience in an effective way that I could generalize the workflows and generalize to using on other frontier models, using on with my open models at home, that type of thing. And it's it's just a wonderful feeling to know that I have not allowed technology to run past me, especially after as long of a career in working in technology as I had. And I feel like I'm just getting started again in a positive way. That sort of that energy that I felt, that excitement. I still feel that now. And it's because especially with uh, the tools that my current focus is working with Anthropic's Claude, just because of that collaborative aspect. And um, I wanted to mentally try to prove that I could do it just by using it in a browser interface. So I'm accessing Claude through the browser, not like Claude code through a terminal application, because I wanted to see, like lowest common denominator. What could artists potentially do with this just through a browser experience? And it's worked out really well. So let me show you some aspects of these two projects and sort of how they relate to it and how they relate to my experience with it. So the best way is just to show you. Let me fire it up, and then it will open right here. And all the models are loading. The nice thing about LM Studio is that it allows for 4 models to load concurrently. And typically, like with when I first started on this project, I just had one model running. It's just call and response, and just using. I was interested in getting the voice portion of interfacing stood up. And that's a law. Generally, the way I work on things is rapid prototyping. What is the minimum viable thing that I need to get stood up and working? Sometimes the joke is it's production ready, and that means you couldn't ship it, but you could use it in a production sense. And I try to approach things uh, from a practical sense, and also from to design it to where an artist can use it in a sort of a simple way without it being too overly complex, and that options are right there in front of you to use in an understandable way. So it's a nice little mix of my interests, and also I try to think about, like, what is the end user experience from a production sense. um, and that can vary, but if it works for my workflow, then it can be also adaptable for the systems I'm creating, can be adapted to anybody's needs. So I try to do that as well with projects, as I make them broadly usable, and to where they are accessible to modification and expansion, without having to just rewrite everything. And this, like I said, these are all things that I didn't have previous experience doing, but I have experience. I have knowledge base and supervisory experience, and just industry experience working in pipelines, in team environments, collaborative environments, and that skill set transfers really well to uh, AI frameworks that are being developed, especially at the frontier labs. And like I said, about a year of Anthropic's Claude, so I'm making good use of it. So let me show you some of the capabilities of this. I designed the idea around just it's a functional interface that has a flavor of sort of old school retro BBS type of vibes. But the real idea was, how can I use it and interact, and also use it as an exploratory test bed for these technologies. One of the aspects that I really like about this tool is that it lists all the models. I have like 55 55 local models, and I can pull them up, and it just loads them up on selection. And you can use them. I've used them to experiment with different modalities, whether you're talking about tool usage or vision, image ingestion, things along those lines. And one of the things that I wanted to stand up after I got talking back and forth with the model was I wanted to be able to see if I could enable instead of like a mixture of experts. That idea is a mixture of models to where I I a user can give a subject and then it loads several models at once and then goes in like a round robin style of conversation. And there's still some fine tuning, so I'll show you a demo of it. Uh, One of the things that still needs fine tuning is sometimes they will step on each other's dialogue. Is that I have it set up to where it should give the next model should give the previous model plenty of breathing room to finish uh, a conversation. But all the conversation elements, when you pose a question in the team chat, is that it is generated uh, on the fly, one at a time by each of these language models, and they're responding to the previous model. So you get interesting exposures of what their native knowledge bases are for these different models, and I can go in and switch out. I have a sampling of these four models, Quen 3, 4B. They're all very small models because I'm working on a personal home system that has, it's a mid-range system that has just enough VRAM to let me do this type of thing. So these are the type that I chose, but as it can scale as I have get more and more capable hardware, that means the parameter size of the models can go up, and then I can enter into more sophisticated arrangements with the models that I use. But for testing purposes, this works perfectly fine. So what we can do is that there's a lot of capabilities built in here. You can um, you can open local applications, calculator,
Launched calculator.
and it launched behind the window. So there it is. And these type of things, it lets me just access like simple things on my in my Windows environment, which is really handy. It shows off the capabilities, but one of the really cool things is team chat, artificial intelligence. And it opens up all these windows and it's processing the request and then it'll start the round robin.
AI's promise lies in pattern recognition scaling exponentially. We're moving beyond rule-based systems to probabilistic models that learn from massive datasets. This opens doors to automation, but also raises ethical concerns about bias, job displacement, and control we need rigorous frameworks to address. The future hinges on our ability to align AI goals with human values through transparent design and ongoing monitoring.
The promise of AI lies in its ability to unlock patterns and make predictions, but it's crucial to remember that these patterns are only as good as the data we feed them. Just like a painter needs raw materials and a skilled hand to translate them into a masterpiece, AI requires ethical guidelines and human oversight to ensure its outputs are responsible, equitable, and aligned.
And I built in the amazing ability to be able to mute it when I'm doing testing.
Absolutely, AI's power is undeniable in pattern.
End conversation. And then I can give it a voice command and it closes out, and now it returns back to single chat mode, and then it will use, by default, I use this Quen 3 model as just the default option in in Alice AI. This type of thing for me is it gives me a broad test bed to be able to plug in new models and to easily go in and stand up new capabilities. if I want to add vision components, I can do that. And I wouldn't be able to do, like I was saying before, I wouldn't be able to do any of this before without uh, utilizing robust, sophisticated AI workflows. And it's very empowering in so many ways because it allows me to collaborate and uh, use my ability, my domain knowledge, my supervisory capability in a browser, working with um, high-end technology and workflows, and to use it to create ideas that I would have been either cost prohibitive or time prohibitive for me previously. And the velocity that it has given me to be able to create more sophisticated projects is just incredible. I mean, I would, there was no way I would be able to do this in a practical sense before. Maybe if I developed the project, but the beautiful thing about it is that the more AI technology advances, the more it drives down the cost of intelligence. And for us as end users, that is just that's a wonderful situation because then it gives you the ability, if you take advantage of it, to um, to try new things. And that's exciting to me. It's exciting. So that is this project. The last project that I will show you, and I have other projects that I've done. I can produce an amazing amount of tools and workflows and ideas way faster than you would think possible. So I'm just going to show off the two main ones and how they connect to each other. Because this project, what it gave me is that I had a simple idea to initiate the the to launch me into this is, can I talk to my open models like I can talk to ChatGPT? And the answer is yes. And what else can I do with it? And then I have all these open models. How else can I take advantage of them? Well, I work in Autodesk Maya for animation, and I've used it for a long time. So I wanted to create an idea I'd been thinking about for forever. Let me stop this and then we'll go over here to, I've got Maya open. And for the Uni project is that Maya has a node editor, but I wanted to make my own node editor. And I wanted to make a node editor that not only could contain pieces of scripts that I use on a daily, little snippets, um, buttons that you create that do little functionalities, but I wanted a place to contain it and to be able to save off, export out um, workflows, node networks, um, just whatever functionality, or be able to save it as part of a, a transparent node, a network node in a scene file, and then that way it's available the next time I open the scene, or I can just import export in as I wanted to. So what I'll show just some of the capabilities of this and show how it relates to the previous project. So how I'm taking the advantages of AI and then and stacking it and taking learning lessons from one thing and applying it into a new thing, generalizing that knowledge. So this is the editor. Is I can move it around. It's very flexible to move around. It has a row of options up here. I can make script buttons. I can make text buttons that hold text. I can make a button that will hold images, nodes that hold images. I can connect things together. I can, let me show you. Let's say take these and I'll connect them. So now they're connected. What if I wanted to make more of these? Well, I could copy selected, paste selected. I can zoom in and out. And what if I wanted to, you can delete connections. What if I had all these and then I wanted to string them all together? Well, you could connect them one by one like that, or you can just select them all and connect selected left to right and boom. Then we have our node network, at least a prototype version of it. And then if you want to extend it, you can just extend it over and over. You can copy and paste, and that just makes it very, very flexible just for usage overall. And you can save all of this, like say this was all usable, and say I wanted to save it to my scene. So I simply click save, I delete this out, and now even though you can't see it over here, it's in a hidden node that all that information can be restored just on reloading it. So I can pass this scene down the production pipeline, and there it is. This is all personal projects. I don't use this up at work, but I've been doing this for so long that this is the kind of tool that I've always wanted to try to make. But it's one of those ideas that you're like, if you don't have like a coding background, at least before AI technology, you're like, that's a cool idea, and it's just gone because it's not practical to try to uh, attack it unless it's something that is you're really going to use. Um, but even if it would provide economic benefit, because this type of tool is super useful, but it's just time and cost prohibitive, but not anymore. So that's one of the cool things about it. The other thing about it is that how easy it is. Like we have all these little buttons, and they're in versions of either like MelScript, which is Autodesk Maya's original scripting language, and now Python scripting. So there you can have a mix of both. Is that you can make all these little buttons on shelves, but I wanted to put the buttons over here so I could save them off and reuse them. So you can just drag over, just middle mouse drag over. And now that these buttons that you had over here that you could create over here in the shelves and have to hunt through shelves, now you have them all just locally available, and it's infinitely configurable. You can have whatever buttons you want, and you can save them off. You can export them as a JSON file. You can re-import them. You can pass them. You can share them. Um, as far as workflow, having something that is flexible as this is really a bonus. And that's something that every production-minded artist or technical person uh, should keep in mind, is that think about how to apply these tools to make you more creative, more productive. Don't allow the tools to take over necessarily. Use them in a the way I approach it is I try to maintain a positive mindset about how can I use these things to enhance my creativity, enhance the usability of what I want to do. So with this, you can just you can create, you just double click, shift double click, you can create these, you can edit, and you can go in, you can change it from Mel to Python. When I drag those buttons over, normally if I create a button, it defaults to Python. Uh, I have fuzzy logic built in to when I drag something over, it uh, tries to auto recognize whether it's Mel script based or it's Python based. So when I open that up, it auto recognized that button that I drag over is a Mel command. So it automatically took care of it. You can rename you can rename things. I've built in templates that you can access you can use it for various scripting components in here. It's all very flexible, all very customizable. One of the other things that you can do with it to show some of the power of it just really quickly is that talking about like how do I generalize and use the knowledge from a previous project. is that I took the knowledge about that I have all these open models in available using through LM Studio. You could use Olama, you could use Open Web UI. You know, there's different ways to access open models. That's just the application that I use. Is how can I tap into the ability to load quickly open models through LM Studio? How can I leverage those type of open AI like endpoints and API functionality from LM Studio? How can I bring that into Maya? And so I have a button up here that is just for a simple AI assistant chat, and I have it specified in code to have a specific model that will load up when I want to try to do. This is for like code snippets, like Python snippets, things like that. Is that if I wanted to make with using a natural language, create a polygonal cube, torus, and cone, and stack on the y axis. And it would have been really smart if I would have put the voice component in here, but I haven't got to that yet, so I'm just typing it. What it'll do is it'll send this request over the AI, and it will load. I still have the models loaded, preloaded over here from when I was demoing for the Alice AI. But when I send this chat request, where'd it go? Is that it will unload those models, and then it's calling in the Qwen 2.5 coder 7B instruct model that I picked just for doing like to help assist with code. And so now it sends that request, I get the response, and it pipes it back through Maya. And another thing that I'm going to stand up is that it gives how to do the request. It gives the code that it generated, and it also gives an explanation, which is fantastic. You can what I want it to do eventually, and I'll get to that in later phases of development, is that I want it to go in and in this Python script section to be able to pull it out and drop it as a node right after it finishes it. And that way I have that, I can harvest that information, and then I can save it off and reuse it later. So it's all, it's all about grabbing bits of knowledge and domain knowledge that I need and how to containerize it, which is cool. So I could copy this and I could make a script button over here, go in, paste it in there. I could rename it, call it create stuff. And then I can just launch it, and there we go. And then now I have a button with, and this is a simple example, of course, but then I could save this off into the scene. I could export the JSON file that has this type of thing, and I've used my local open models to help me perform work just using natural language. And for artists, the application is immediate because maybe you're an artist that doesn't have a coding background like me. But I can leverage that technology to give me the tools that I want. And this is a free floating window, so I can just leave it up here and just use it throughout my workday. And I'm not paying anything because I'm using an open model at home. So it's really a cool sort of idea. Another interesting aspect of leveraging AI tools for this is that I was able to create a script library using Anthropic's Claude, because the project that I'm working in, that's the project I wrote all this code in, so it understands the structure of all the script buttons and the uni format and the JSON format. So I can ask Claude to write me up demos and network demos that I can save off from the browser to a JSON file and then load it up in here as a node network. It's pretty cool. So this is an example. This is like a script library just to show like demo stuff. And I have a text node, and this was written by Claude. I said, I'd like to have a whole bunch of functional scripts that sort of go in vaguely like how it'd be used like in a pipeline sense, just as like prototype showing. And so it generated this. I didn't create this node network. It generated the network to my specifications. I downloaded the JSON file and then loaded it up in here, and it works. So like with this, create a sphere grid, and it creates that. So this is something that I could reuse just whenever I want, or random colored cubes. Simple examples, but they give you an insight into what could be what can be done with this, and then how taking these simple ideas and how you can make them much more sophisticated and add complexity to it. We could create like spiral tower, and it's all containerized. The script pieces are containerized in these buttons. It's created a little circle array, and say if I wanted to random it, I could have a, like if you wanted to have a functionality to random scatter it. Every time I activate it, it randomly scatters it. I could select all meshes. I can I can take a certain amount of them. What if I wanted to batch rename? That's that's common in pipelines, is that you have a whole bunch of generated objects, and maybe you want to rename it. So you could script it up to name it for a certain prefix or whatever, and then it changes it to a sequence numbering of those, whatever the prefix you specify. You can use it to give you scene statistics. Let me go over here, and I want to have I need to have a pop-up showing this, but it just prints it all out to, and it gives you scene statistics. This could be uh, put into emails or delivered via Slack or whatever. Like if you need to know, or what materials are in the scene, or like if you need to clean up unused nodes. The applications are for this are whatever you want to put into these buttons. One of the easiest things, I love that showing this, because one of the easiest things, or that should be the easiest thing, is that artists use image planes in Maya to show like image like JPEGs, GIFs, whatever. Uh, Normally in Maya, there's a few hoops you have to jump through. You have to create it, then you have to go to attributes, then you have to find it. This, I thought, well, what if we could just drag it directly from the desktop right into here and create the nodes? It's me. And then you can just simply right click, apply to image plane. And so there it's right away, as many, it's me, as many of these as you want. And then you could save this off to the net, to the, say if you wanted to save this and pass it off, like if you was doing concept planning, you wanted to pass it down the pipeline to for somebody to evaluate. So you could either save it to the scene C node and save that file off and pass it down, reload it back in. There it is. As long as I don't break the where the images were loaded from, it'll maintain that connection. So you could have drag in images from a network location and use those. Really powerful. The last thing that I will show is how I would use, like I created a demo, like is like application for like a previs pipeline for VFX or gaming. Import in a scene builder, And what this network will do is it'll show off that you can not only run single items, but you can run things upstream and downstream in a cascade to where it runs one node button and then it runs the next one, passes information along, whatever the specification of what's in the buttons. And I created an AI model node that is very similar to the AI chat node, but it talk about leveraging previous projects is that I took the idea and I very specifically when I was creating this, I in planning discussion with Claude, I said, "Hey, we have the ability in the Alice AI project to load multiple models to see what the models are that are available locally." And so Claude did a little search into that project, found how that was being applied, and then leveraged that. So now I have it. We was able to stand it up fairly quickly in a separate project. So that's super fantastic, and it's all this node is for this demo is the idea is that describe this image in detail. So it's going to have a vision application. And the system prompt, it is the most basic system prompt you could ever ask for, but it gives you the idea of the capabilities because you can make system prompts as sophisticated as you need and as custom as you needed. But for simple purposes as a proof of concept, this works fairly well. And what this does is that this is what it's going to do is I will move this over here and I'll show you this. I will create a text button. I'll put it over here and it's empty. So I'll call this output and it's still empty and I'm just going to hook it up here. What it's going to do is that this is going to analyze this image, and if it sees anything that is falls into a classification of something that could be loaded as preloader geometry in a scene, skybox, trees, ground, mountains, things like that. And it just has a few items that are sort of like test things. And the items that will be generated are very, very basic is it's proof of concept. But that sophistication level can be improved above that very, very quickly. So what we will do is I will hook this up and I will activate it here. Control double click will activate a downstream cascade to where it will pass this information off down the chain. This node right here is where everything is specified that it's looking for. If mountains, make cones. If trees, make cylinders with a sphere on top. Water is just a flat plane. Building are cubes, but it's using the vision modality of the open model locally to identify, see if any of these things are here, and then it will dump this output to the to this empty text node. So we'll load it up here. I'll just show it. It's loading up the vision model Gemma 3 4B, and it's a vision model, so I'm utilizing that modality. And then it's performing the analysis, and then it made something. It's like, what did it make? It it used this image here of a landscape of the lake, of the sky, of the trees and the mountains, and it took everything that was in here that it was looking for things to identify if it could find something that was analogous to what it was looking for, and it was able to create these proxy objects and generate and pass everything back into Maya as like a starter pack of like here's some assets, and it could as easily pull in very high resolution sophisticated assets and drop them. The application being that say that you had some environmental concept art that you wanted to build up some proxy preloaders. You feed it into there, it analyzes it, and it also gives you a natural language discussion breakout of what it is that it was analyzed, and just it talks about each of the elements in sort of a pipeline artistic sort of sense, sort of describing what it's seeing in the image. So you take this package of not only you gave it an image, but you could create a preloader asset for a scene, and also a detailed, at least a starting informational breakout of what that image was, using tool sets that you may not have realized you could use it in this fashion. And that, to me, that is the leveraging ability of AI technology. The last thing I'll show on this, just to show you how I continue to leverage this, is let's say that I copy this and paste this. And let's say we'll go to this output. I'll call it output 2. I'll delete all this. And so this is a fresh node here. And then I'm going to do the same thing, and it's going to take this same request, but it's going to do it for this image. But this image doesn't have any really any of the same markers, uh, visual things that it's looking for to identify and create over here as a preloader. It doesn't have that, but the vision capabilities of the open source model that I'm using understands that, because it can analyze images. So we'll do the same thing here. Is this is empty. It's going to run this basically the same thing. It's passing that information. I can see it spinning. It's generating over here. And then it will pass information back over here. It said no recognizable scene elements found in the description. So it could not find anything. It didn't create anything, but it still gave me a very detailed breakdown of what it was able to analyze about the subject, about clothing, the Apple Vision Pro headset, the lighting, text elements. So even though it didn't find anything that was a trigger target to load as a preloader, it still gave me the full breakdown, which is what it's supposed to be doing. Um, these type these type of applications, to me, is what we as artists need to focus on, is focus on how to take your experience, your domain knowledge, and apply it in a way that gets you to whatever the end result is, in a quicker manner, and to take a lot of the things that you have to do a lot of iteration on, and try to compress that out as much as possible, so that you can you can move effectively. So that's why I wanted to show these, is that the main thing is that I really would never have been able to effectively do this before. AI technology tools are at a point now that they can reflect back your intent in a very sophisticated manner. And that's what I'm doing. I'm leveraging my abilities and my experience, not only as an animator and artist, but as my supervisory background and my training background working with artists. I'm taking the idea of breaking complex things down into simple steps, and that works amazingly well when you apply it with uh, AI frameworks currently.